today I'm going to show you a video about configuring an inverter to work with lithium-ion batteries. So I called my friend Barry, who's in Joshua Tree, and we were discussing commissioning the Sol-Ark inverter with Innovation BMS. Most of the conversation was about getting the Sol-Ark screen updated. If you haven't already, watch the earlier videos in the series. This is video number 5. We got a few more before this that shows how we did the install. But yeah, please like and subscribe to the channel, the video. That always helps. And also leave some comments. Comments are the best. Love to hear what you guys are saying. So here's the video. Thanks. All right, I hit record.
Okay.
So when did you get back into town?
Like 10 days ago.
Okay. Why don't we recap on what's happened? So about a month ago, I flew out with a few other friends and we worked at your house in Joshua Tree and we installed the battery system. The solar system was already there. We got all the physical stuff complete. Everything seems to be working great. Now we're kind of, the final stages are to configure the inverter to work well with the battery system. The goal is to have the BMS parameters, kind of the top voltage and the bottom voltage be, in the safe place but wide. And then we'll have the inverter top voltage and lower voltage kind of sit in the middle of that. So the inverter doesn't get too close to tripping the contactors in the BMS. So that's the goal. So one idea that came up, so a bunch of people have given comments on the YouTube channel and stuff, which is great. The really interesting one is that someone said, why don't you plug in your solar input into the generator input on the Sol-Ark inverter, because that's an AC connection. We have AC coupled solar. So that means if we hook the solar panels up there, the meter on the Sol-Ark inverter will actually show how much power you're producing.
Great.
Which would be really cool if that works. So let me see, I'm going to share screens here. Okay, so what we're talking about here is this solar input here is actually the DC input. So we don't actually see any production of the solar that you have on site because it's AC coupled.
Right.
So as we saw, it's kind of a bummer to know that solar is producing power, but we can't really see what's happening with it. So if we connect it to the generator input, where would it show up on this screen? Maybe it wouldn't show up on this one. It would show up here where it says gen down here.
Right.
So anyways, it was a comment. It's something that we should look into and maybe talk to Sol-Ark and see if that's a viable option.
Okay.
So that'd be cool, right?
That'd be very cool, especially Enphase. I have a 3G cellular monitoring device out at the array, and apparently it's no longer supported as of the other day. So I am not able to track my energy production through the Enphase portal right now. So having this would probably suffice. I probably could just bypass the Enphase thing altogether. Enphase portal.
Okay. We'll have to, do you already have someone at Sol-Ark that you're talking to?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But they've been pretty good when I've called them. A human answers the phone in pretty short order, and they seem to have a good idea what they're talking about. So
okay, cool. I'm sure that yeah, I'm sure this is a common thing. So it's hopefully they have a good answer for it.
Yeah.
So also I noticed that Sol-Ark just released a new manual that just came out in November or something. So it's much nicer, much easier to read. Yeah, November 16th,
Great.
like 2 weeks ago.
29 pages. All right, I'll get my hands on that.
Yeah. So yeah, one of these line diagrams, we could see if maybe AC coupled can go in there. Yeah, right now it looks like this AC coupled is the way that we did it, where it's just on the load side. So
okay,
we'll see. We'll see what they say. Okay, the other area to discuss is inverter settings. So as I mentioned earlier, I want to get these, I don't want to have any nuisance tripping, you know, because the inverter is going to push power, going to try to fill the batteries as much as it's being told to go. And it's probably better that we use kind of a narrower window, maybe like 20% to 90% SOC, you know, 15% to 85, something like that. So sitting somewhere in the middle of the voltage of the battery rack. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to change the voltage set points on charge to be a bit lower than what we've selected on the battery system.
Okay.
So,
and do you want me to be out at the inverter while we're doing this, or?
let's, yeah, so let's discuss this now and come up with a
Okay.
plan, and then maybe
Okay.
we'll hit pause and we'll go out there and
Okay.
see if we can do that.
Sure.
So these are the settings for the BMS. So essentially we're saying if the stack gets to 57.52 volts, we're considering that completely full. We don't need to go any higher than that. It can safely go a little bit higher if something happens, but the contactors won't open until a bit higher than that. So if we go to, let's say, 57.2 on the inverter, and we charge up to there, or 57.3, something like that, I think that will be very full in the batteries. You're going to be very close to the getting a fully charged battery, and you're only going to lose like maybe a couple percent of SOC, which will be pretty minimal.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of our only area that we're going to be getting close to fine tuning. The lower end of the battery system, I think we're okay. The current limits on the battery system are fine. We can go higher current than what the inverter can handle. And the temperature settings, this will be interesting to see next June, July, August. So hopefully temperatures aren't too crazy inside that room. We're gonna have warnings at about 113 Fahrenheit.
Okay.
And a fault will actually open the contactors if it goes up to like 129.
I hope it doesn't get that hot.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because well,
it should stay in the low hundreds in there. So
yeah.
time will
Well, it
tell,
will
but
get hot as it's charging and discharging.
that's true too. Yes.
So if it's like 105 outside, in that room could be a little bit more, and if it's running and the fans inverter's getting really hot. So we'll have to see. Hopefully it's fine, but the good news is the BMS will open the contactors if it gets too hot. So
Right.
it'll be safe. Okay, so looking at the setup on the inverter, we'll have you go and change these float and absorption and equalize. We're going to turn equalize off, and we'll change those numbers. I already changed the battery capacity and max charge and max discharge. And for the battery setup discharge, what is this? What is this here? Oh, the battery empty. So we should consider the battery empty at 43.5.
Weren't we using 44 as a safe number?
Yeah, I think maybe we had 44 in there.
Yeah. Okay.
So before you go out in the other room to set these numbers, we'll just open up the spreadsheet and type in exactly what we're going to do, and we'll save that as a reference too. So shut down, low battery, restart. I don't know enough about this inverter to know what those mean.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, basically, that's where we ran to that problem that Nate found right before he left. which was the batteries getting too much energy. So we're gonna fix that.
Mm-hmm.
And then set up the arbitrage. I think those are really the only two things outside of me getting the warranty. They have a whole little checklist. You gotta answer questions and take a picture of it and send it to them. So I need to get on the ball about that.
Okay. So yeah, the thing that happened with you and Nate is essentially this number here, the float or volt or absorption voltage. That number was too close to the max of what the BMS was at.
Right.
So the BMS was saying, hey, you told me to open contactors at such and such voltage. I'm going to open contactors because you're getting really close.
Right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to widen that gap a little bit. So the inverter is nearly finished and it doesn't even get near what the BMS can actually handle.
Okay.
But that's kind of like, we'll have to run it a few times and see how it goes. I think.
Okay.
Cool. All right, well, the last topic I wanted to talk about was, so we did the copper bus bars on top of the REPT cells. After the installation, everything, and some YouTube comments have pointed out that the cell terminals, I believe, might be aluminum. So when you have aluminum battery terminals touching copper bus bars, over time, and with if you have like a really humid climate, that can cause problems. Good thing that where you're at is very dry. So like over time, that could have some like kind of rust or kind of material wearing off or something. So you're totally fine for, probably years or something, but it's something that we may want to think about altering those bus bars to have a coating or put something in between it, so then we don't have that issue. So there's two ways of doing this, dealing with this, is we can coat the bus bars in something like a zinc or tin, which I didn't do because I didn't have the ability to do that before I shipped it out to you. Or two, which was a good idea, is we could put a thin piece of tin or zinc foil underneath it. So the actual contact points, there's no aluminum touching copper.
Okay.
So these are all cool ideas, nothing that we need to do immediately, but maybe even the next time I'm out there, we do a switch over like that.
Okay.
But it's good to be careful about dissimilar metals, and I think it's called galvanic corrosion when you have the different metals.
That before with plumbing stuff. So
yeah. And solar racking stuff, I'm sure you've seen with racks that wear out because they use the wrong kind of screws or something. So those are all my thoughts from, kind of looking at your project, looking back, thinking about things we could have done better. Those are kind of the things on my list.
Okay. That's pretty nominal. So
yeah, not bad. Not bad. I had a lot of fun that trip too.
That was great.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think we could wrap up the video here.
Okay.
Why don't we pause it for a bit and then we'll go walk out, or you'll go. I'll float there with you digitally.
That's good.
And we'll go look at the inverter.
All right. So here we are in my bicycle storage room that happens to have an inverter in it.
So it's pedal powered now.
Pedal powered, exactly. Yeah. Which is good. There's hardly any sun today, so. Yeah. Cool.
So it's working and it's on. So you're using, gosh, only 400 watts right now, and the grid's feeding that. Or maybe your solar is producing a lot of power too.
It might be. Yeah, it's a pretty overcast day today, but I'm sure I'm probably still getting a little power out of the solar.
Yeah, okay. And the battery's at 55.1, which is probably kind of middle to high part of the charge of SOC, so that's good. So I think if we click on the gear in the upper right-hand corner, we can start programming things.
All right.
So click on that. And then now let's click on battery setup. Okay, cool. So the numbers that I punched in there before I left are still in there. Oh, I see the Tempco. I think we actually want that to be 0. I don't know if that's going to change anything, but can that be changed?
Does not appear so. Not on that window.
I wonder
anyway.
how we change that.
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
We'll think about that later, I guess. One thing that I haven't talked to Sol-Ark about is there is a BMS Lithium button, but I don't think we should have that checked because I think that's if you have a known battery system to them. So
okay.
we'll leave that unchecked. So let's go to the charge tab. Let's take a look there. It's actually kind of amazing that they can configure everything all on this little touchscreen.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Yeah. So, okay, so so it's at the float voltage is at 55.2 and it's at 55.1 right now. So basically it's fully charged the batteries.
Okay.
So that's good. So the absorption voltage is a bit higher. I think we could move that. Why don't we make all of them 55.2 for now and just go a little conservative and see how that rolls, and we'll increase later if we want to.
All right. So Georgeson 55.2 equalization as well.
Yeah, we're never going to equalize, but might as well just get that on the same number here. And I'm
Okay.
gonna save this in my file so we know that they're all that.
All right.
Okay, and then on the left here we have another little box that says grid charge, start voltage at 53, and charge at 75 amps. Well, I don't really know what to say there. Let me look at what 53 would be. 53 is still pretty high. So let's see. The start voltage, I guess if the voltage was below that, it would charge. But if it's above that, it won't charge.
Yeah. It seems like an awful lot of amps coming off if it's charging from the grid. That seems like an awful lot of amps.
Well, it can handle like 200 amps.
Yeah, I guess so. That's true. I guess we got the right wire size to it. So
yeah, I mean, I'd say 75 amps is fine because you don't want to charge super fast anyways.
Isn't 75 charging kind of fast though?
Isn't what?
Isn't 75 amps charging fairly fast?
No, it's kind of like at half, a little bit less than half.
All right.
Okay, now I'm gonna look at the manual and I'm gonna see if I can find a little bit about that start voltage. I'm gonna search start V and see what comes up.
Okay.
Nothing comes up. So it goes.
Start space V. Tries to start space V. And see
yeah, let me try that. That's a good idea. Oh, there we go. I found something. So gen start V, that is the value battery needs to reach before automatically starting a generator. Oh, okay. So that's a generator start thing.
Okay.
Well,
but
we have
the
grid...
gen charge box. It's not clicked there on the left.
Yeah, so we also have grid charge. So how does that work? That's probably the value a battery needs to reach before you start grid charging. Okay, so I think in other words, if the battery is relatively high SOC, it's not going to charge from the grid. So 53, that's actually kind of fine because I'm going to guess that that's like at 70% SOC. So let's just leave that value. So let's leave that. So let's click on the discharge tab. I don't think we should change anything here. I think that's fine.
Okay.
So let's hit OK and save those settings.
Okay.
And now for grid setup. So this will be for basically load shifting.
Okay.
So, okay, so it didn't save some of the stuff we did before, but that's okay. So I think we're only gonna sell at that 17, which is 5 p.m.
Right.
And all the rest should be charge. So let's just hit OK there. And then let's go back to grid setup.
All right, saved it.
Okay, so we're at grid cell. So I'm curious, let's click on time of use setup. Yeah, that little button there. Oh, okay, that's just every day. Okay. If we click on, I think we need to.
Time of use to be clicked though?
Yeah, I think we need to click that.
Yeah, you're
okay,
right.
yeah, so that's active.
All right, and we're selling up to 9,000. Well,
yeah, we could go high power.
Well, I'm just wondering, so that's 9,000 watts for 4 hours is
that's the full part of the battery.
yeah.
Why don't we change it to 7.5 kilowatts, 7,500, just to kind of, or even 7,000, just kind of. You can always increase that later. Maybe just start simple.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna look up what. While you're doing that, I'm going to look up what that battery voltage needs to be.
All right. I'm just going to put this at 7,500.
Okay.
Okay.
Search time of use didn't come up with anything. Let's see. I feel like I'm getting closer here. So, okay, I have okay. So I think that's the max voltage that it will be asked to go to.
And what I really need to do is get myself back out here at 5 p.m. and see what happens.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, so this number I think we can lower down. It basically will discharge to 52.5. I think we could go a bit lower.
On the voltage here?
Yeah, why don't we just let's go to 50. Let's just be conservative again. And remember that this is a value that we can alter.
Okay.
So I gotta, I'm trying to keep notes here too.
Sure.
Okay, so let's see what happens at 5. So why don't we, make sure we hit OK and save on everything. Make sure everything got in there.
Time of use did not remain there.
Oh yeah, it still says 9,000.
Yeah, it sure does, doesn't it? That's a pain. All right, hang on.
Yeah, so make that 7,000 or 7,500 or so, and then we'll make that 50 volts next to it.
Yeah.
And I think we're in an okay place to see how this goes, and we can improve on it. Let's go back. It's there. Cool. It's saved.
Okay.
All right. And when I flip through the manual, I don't think there's any other parameters that we want to change yet.
Okay.
So I think we're done here on the
Okay.
updating the inverter. Cool.
Great. Love it.
All right, Joe.
Cool, Barry.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Okay.
Well, that was fun. Nice chat.
Well, that's fun.
And talk to you later.
All right. Perfect. All right. Thanks for your help.